And a very good, albeit hot afternoon, folks. Steven here once again. Now that Amazon season is wrapped up, I'm going to share my thoughts on their broadcast for the NASCAR Cup Series in 2025, as long as I give my thoughts on what I think what TNT will do beginning this weekend at Atlanta. Now, before we get to all that, don't forget, if you like this, hit the like button on the video, subscribe for more content like this, click the bell for notifications, and so on. So, with that introduction out of the way, let's talk Prime and TNT. As you know by now, Prime has recently wrapped up the NASCAR coverage for the 2025 Cup Series season and won't be back until next year. Now, overall, I did pretty much enjoy Prime's coverage, and I thought they did an amazing job. Arguably, we had a bit of fresh air in not only with the booth and the pits, but the pre and post-race coverage as well. Now, obviously, no broadcast is perfect. There are a few things that Prime could do for next year, like maybe interview a few more drivers in the post-race, and maybe, I don't know, maybe reduce a little bit of the post-race coverage. The pre-race coverage a little bit along the way, but for the most part, they did a great job of their first outing. And I hope they continue having more success for 2025. Not 25, 26 and beyond, by mistake. I've always the great Amazon overall. It's a solid A. Not the best broadcast, at least so of all time, mind you, but in terms of the best broadcast since 2001, for example, I would say probably second best to the 01 to 14 era Fox broadcast. If I had to pick as far as being the best of that era goes. But definitely the best since that era, I'll say that. And speaking of that 7 to 14 one, let's talk TNT, which for the first time since 14 will make this triumphant return to the Cup Series beginning this weekend in Atlanta, which also kicks off the 5-week in-season tournament. So I figure as well, I'll take this time to explain a little bit about that. So basically it's this. The 32 drivers will have 16 different matchups over the course of the race. The 16 drivers that won the matchups between their respective drivers, for example, Denny Hamlin versus Ty Dillon, will move on to the next round at Chicago, while the loser driver, though still race, will not take part in $1 million anymore. Meaning that if for some reason Ty Dillon wins over Hamlin by finishing ahead of him, then Hamlin will be out and Dillon will advance to the next round. I'm going to use that as an example. But to be honest, I think this is probably going to be I think Hamlin's the favorite to win the tournament, along with Larson. So those will be my top two picks for the tournament, as far as who's going to win an opportunity between them, in my opinion. But basically, in a nutshell, that's how the tournament works. After Chicago, it'll be down to 8, then down to 4, then eventually at Indy, it'll be down to 2. And the highest finishing driver of those two will get the $1 million bonus. Now, it should be worth noting that this has no effect on the championship whatsoever. This is just for see who wins an extra $1 million. Sort of like a 5-week all-star race, as it were. The only difference is that it's the bracket format, so that means drivers will be eliminated for the $1 million every week. And like I said, it's going to see, it all boils down to who finishes ahead of the other driver. Now, as for TNT, I think, to be honest, it won't be quite the same as Prime, but I will say it's probably be on par with either the CW or Fox in terms of how they cover the races thus far. But at least we still have some familiar faces going into the TNT booth and the pre-process coverage plus pit road going forward. As a reminder of that, you got Adam Alexander, Steve Letarte, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the broadcast booth, with Alan Cavanagh, Daniel Trotta, and Marty Snyder on pit road, along with Mama Smith doing things for Bleachers Report, plus Chance Bake, Jimmy McMurray, and Parker Kligerman doing the pre and post race coverage. In addition, because of the tournament, you see that on True TV, by the way, Jeff Burton and Larry McReynolds will talk about that side of the race. But I will say this. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, if you want to keep up with one broadcast versus the other, on who works and who doesn't. Now, some will argue this is just a one-year deal for us, the tournament, and won't be back next year. Let's give it a chance first and see how it plays out. If it's one and done, then they tried, at least. But if the tournament comes back next year, then I like to say it'll be an annual thing. That way have some fun covering the races just before we get to the end of the regular season. Because remember, in August, USA and NBC takes over for the remainder of the season, starting at Iowa. And we're all about the playoffs at that point, along with the 4 races leading up to the playoffs. Now, so far, there has not been any word on if any changes will come to next year's championship format, but if the thing does change, it'll probably occur at least during the off-season. But I will say this, if they take this bracket format for the $1 million tournament and apply it for the championship for next year, as an example, then it's going to get interesting, to say the least. Now, personally, I think the majority of the fans agree that a full season format is the best way to determine a championship. But if that can't be reached by either NBC or NASCAR, then go back to the original chase format. Say 10 drivers have 10 weeks, and whoever has the most points at the end of those 10 weeks, there's your champion. That, to me, was at least probably the most fair thing they did in the playoff format. Ever since the start of this chase and playoff era. Now, I get the elimination side of things, don't get me wrong. And to some degree, I like for it to keep it. But if you do, then just eliminate half of them at the halfway point of the season. Say 5 drivers have 5 weeks to either move on to the final 5 or the fast 5 and have their season come to an end. And then those 5 drivers will have the points reset and have 5 weeks to determine who's going to win the championship. If you want to keep a elimination style format that way, then that's probably the most fair thing you can do with that. And in case you're wondering why I'm wearing a coat, it's because it rained earlier today, and this is just more or less precaution in case more rain returns. But overall, my point is this. I like one of 3 things to happen should the current playoff format disappears for next year. Either a full season championship, 10 race playoff, or essentially to 5 races with one elimination at the halfway point. That way you can get the best of both the elimination era championship format and the pre-elimination chase format. But anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. For not only my thoughts on what the championship format should be for next year, Amazon's coverage, and what I think TNT will do for next year. Plus, let me know your pick for the in-season tournament as well. Now, before we go, there is some good news regarding the park here at Shippersville. It is back open for the first time in months, minus a brief reopening. And this was done due to they decided to essentially repave the main entrance to the park around here. Why did they close it down this time? Although why did they do it while the park was closed the first time after they got the flow bars out? I don't know, but it is what it is. And all they did for the most part was add a few more benches and trees. And that's it. I mean, it's nice as all, don't get me wrong, but it just seems kind of pointless in the grand scheme of things. Sure, the more trees will help when it gets too hot, and the more benches will help when you sit down and rest, but my point is that you could have done. Overall, my one criticism is this: did you really need to close the park down for this? And also, why reopen the park briefly if you could just go to do the repaving job? And that's all I'm saying, on that side of things, at least. But now there is one other thing I did want to talk about right quick. And that is my lack of more or less original content on here. And I did want to explain that. Essentially, in a nutshell, for the most part, I am forced to basically do 2 jobs. DoorDash on off days, plus my regular work, in order to make some extra money. This is just a temporary solution until I can find something more permanent. Rather be just one job and no DoorDash, or find a part-time job and see if I can work part-time at Walmart instead, where I work part-time at my regular job at as well. But regardless, here's the plan for the rest of this week. This will be uploaded soon, possibly by tonight or tomorrow. I don't know yet. And I got something special planned for my birthday for Saturday. One of my favorite shorts will be uploaded to this channel on my birthday. I haven't chosen one yet, but you'll see. Then I got something planned for the 4th of July week when I got the Sailor Man and his nephews. So stay tuned for that as well. And of course, if I'm out and about next Thursday, I might stop by and film some fireworks. Because that's the closest thing I'll see to fireworks this year. Because sadly I have to work on the 4th. And we'll have to work on the 4th again, as things currently stand, till at least 2028. Then once more in 29. But as you all know by now, folks, Anything can happen. So, on that note, I'll see all of you next time, and take care. Bye for now.